I think unfortunately, the pandemic has slightly slewed things in as much as it's hard to spend as much time with the Queen.
King Charles's choice surprised many, but to those who watched palace life closely, it felt like a careful, considered move. In quiet conversations behind closed doors, the king decided that Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, should take on a public role that had once been held by Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. There were no bright press lights, no formal press release with polished wording, just a soft private proposal that would ripple outward and change how the family worked in public. When Sophie quietly accepted, the moment felt less like a sudden swap of titles and more like a reshaping of the monarchy's public face. This was not about replacing a single person. To the king, it was about steadying the whole ship. Meghan and Harry's exit left more than empty schedules. It left a question about what the royal family looked like in a modern world full of loud media and fast opinion. Charles wanted someone who could hold the line between tradition and the need to show a modern, caring monarchy. Sophie had spent years quietly building trust, showing she would do the work because she believed in it, not for headlines or fame. That steadiness, more than anything else, is what prompted the king's suggestion. Sophie did not leap into the role for the fame. She accepted because she had always done the work. Her decades of service, mostly away from the flash and frenzy of celebrity culture, made her an easy and calming choice. She had never chased the spotlight. Instead, she had relied on persistence, on showing up where people needed help, on giving time to causes that rarely make front-page news. Those small, steady actions can be easy to miss, but they build a deep kind of respect that lasts longer than any headline. When reporters asked Sophie if she felt ready to fill the place Meghan once held, her answer was simple and revealing. The role she was stepping into was not new to her. It was already part of what she did. The public saw that answer as a quiet moment of truth. Sophie did not frame her acceptance as stepping into someone else's shoes. She pointed out that the work of the monarchy was always wider than any one person. Her calm reply cut through the drama and reminded people that service, above all, matters. It was a line that spread quickly through the media because it struck a chord. She was not replacing Meghan. She was simply continuing the steady, careful work that the crown needed. People responded to the modesty and clarity of that statement. For many, it felt like a return to the values of duty and humility that had long been at the heart of royal life. To understand why Sophie rose to this place, it helps to look back at who she is and how she got there. Long before she married into the royal family, she was Sophie Rhys-Jones, a woman from a solid background who built a small public relations business. She worked hard, learned how to manage people and communications, and faced both successes and setbacks. Her early career showed she knew how to link words with action, how to speak clearly and move projects forward quietly and competently. Those skills later shaped how she handled royal life, with a focus on practical help and a dislike for empty show. Sophie's life was not without a difficult chapter. In 2001, a sting operation by an undercover tabloid brought her into a spotlight she had not chosen and left her reputation on shaky ground. What might have ended many careers instead became a turning point for Sophie. She chose to face what happened with honesty, accept responsibility, and shift her direction. Rather than chase public approval or try to fight every rumor, she moved into public service. She directed her energy into helping others, into charities and causes that mattered, and into a steadier, quieter life of work. Over time, the public's view of her changed. Where some saw a misstep once, they later saw persistence, endurance, and real effort. That change did not happen overnight. It was the result of years of showing up at hospitals, at small charity events, with causes that did not make glamorous copy but made a real difference. Sophie focused on issues like blindness prevention, the rights and support of people with disabilities, women's causes, and helping those on the margins of society. She did not make public performance her aim, she made results her goal. That focus slowly rebuilt trust, and people began to see Sophie for what she was: dependable, practical, and quietly effective. King Charles recognized those qualities. He saw in Sophie the sort of person who could represent the monarchy without drama. He wanted someone whose presence would calm, who would carry the duties of the crown with care and consistency. He had watched how she handled private moments, how she supported people quietly, and how she never let scandal define her. To him, those traits were exactly what the monarchy needed now. Someone who could hold the line, represent causes well, and do so with dignity. Sophie's relationship with the late Queen Elizabeth added weight to how she was viewed inside the family. The Queen had long appreciated Sophie's presence, not because she sought attention, but because she offered a kind of companionship that was rare at the highest levels of public life. They shared simple moments away from ceremony, short walks and conversations where rank did not matter. That closeness gave Sophie a kind of quiet legitimacy. She had proven herself to a monarch who understood what public service really meant. When the Queen praised Sophie for being dependable to the core, it carried a deep meaning. That praise came from someone who had observed the long game of royal life and who knew when service was sincere. When Sophie accepted the new role, she did so from a place of experience, not for public drama. She stepped forward because she believed the job needed doing. She had built a deep connection to many causes and people, and she wanted to keep supporting them. For Sophie, the work mattered far more than the applause. That practical, service-driven mindset was at the heart of why Charles proposed her and why she agreed. Meghan and Harry's decision to step back in early 2020 created a cultural shock inside the palace and beyond. The couple's desire for a different life, one that mixed private freedom with public purpose, simply did not fit within the strict, centuries-old structure of the royal household. Their choice to pursue a life outside the traditional working royal role eventually became formalized when Buckingham Palace announced in February 2021 that they would not return as working members of the royal family. The announcement cut the ties in an official way and left the institution to rethink how it would move forward without two high-profile figures on its schedule. The Sussexes' exit did more than change who attended which events. It left gaps in the public-facing work of the monarchy. Where once Meghan had stood as a contemporary, media-savvy voice, the family now needed figures who could carry forward charitable work and public engagements while respecting the dignity and continuity of the institution. That gap called for thoughtful rearrangement, not just an obvious substitution, but a rethinking of who would best embody the values the current monarch wanted to promote. For Charles, the answer was someone who had long been quietly doing that work: Sophie. There are practical reasons the move made sense. Sophie had years of experience supporting many causes. She knew how to connect with charities and with ordinary people who were touched by issues like disability, social exclusion, and health. She was already used to the rhythms of royal duty. With the king's support, stepping into a more visible role would not be stepping into the unknown. It would be widening an existing pattern of work. Sophie knew how to speak at hospital bedsides, how to meet volunteers with compassion rather than spectacle, and how to turn attention toward long-term support rather than brief moments of sympathy. What Sophie brought to the table went beyond competence. She represented a kind of moral steadiness that people often find reassuring in times of public stress. The monarchy had been through several years of high drama and loud disagreements in the press. People were asking whether the institution still knew who it was or what it stood for. By placing Sophie in a more central role, Charles signaled that the monarchy values dependable service, humility, and steadiness above celebrity. It was a small but meaningful shift in tone, less about personality and more about work. Sophie's acceptance also showed how redemption can reshape a public life. Her early mistakes did not define the rest of her years. Instead, she used them as a turning point to refocus on responsibility and help. In a public world filled with scandal and quick fallouts, that long arc of repair and steady service offered a different message. People can learn, adapt, and choose a path of usefulness rather than attention. That idea appealed to many in the public and in the palace alike. Not everyone welcomed the change without question. The idea of replacing Meghan felt too simple to some observers. The reality was more nuanced. Sophie would not be a carbon copy of Meghan, nor was that what the monarchy needed. Meghan's role had been tied to a certain modern voice, outspoken, media-friendly, and deeply personal. Sophie offered something else, a slow-building trust, decades of low-key work, and the capacity to represent causes without turning them into high-profile celebrity events. The monarchy's need was not for the same voice again, but for someone who could stitch together duty and approachability in a way that respected the institution's history. Inside the palace, advisors recognized the symbolic nature of the decision. Assigning Sophie to these duties did more than fill a calendar. It sent a message about direction. Charles wanted a monarchy that could adapt to modern life without losing its core purpose, to serve. Sophie's way of working, which prioritized quiet action and long-term engagement over splashy announcements, matched that vision. Her presence helped calm a narrative that had been noisy and fractured. In private conversations, advisors said they felt Sophie could bridge gaps between the palace and the public, using kindness and steady work to rebuild trust. Critics argued that modernizing the monarchy required bolder, more dynamic voices. Supporters countered that what the monarchy needed most right now was repair and reliability. The truth sits somewhere in the middle. Institutions that survive long histories must show both the capacity to change and the steadiness to carry traditions forward. Sophie's role could be a model for how to balance these needs. She could represent the palace in a way that honored the past but focused on genuine, practical help for people today. There were also emotional reasons the move felt right. Sophie had been a companion to the late Queen during her final years, offering quiet presence during difficult times. That relationship mattered inside the family. It showed Sophie's ability to give comfort and to sit with weighty responsibilities without seeking attention. In a family where relationships can be strained by public pressure, having someone who knows how to listen and support without taking center stage is invaluable. For Sophie, the acceptance was deeply personal as well as public. She had once been at the center of controversy, and through the decades, she had rebuilt a life of service. Stepping into the new responsibilities was not an attempt to erase the past, but an extension of the path she had chosen. It was an affirmation that she believed in service above self, that she valued steady action over dramatic gestures, and that she wanted to use her position to help causes that mattered. Her choice showed that royal duty could still be meaningful when grounded in real commitment. At public gatherings after the announcement, people noticed a change in tone. Sophie's presence felt reassuring rather than flashy. She was often seen engaging directly with those she met, volunteers, patients, campaign leaders, listening more than speaking, asking questions that showed genuine interest. That method of working did more to create connections than any scripted speech. It allowed the people she met to feel heard and visible, and it gave charities a real platform to explain long-term needs rather than snap public relations moments. The King's proposal and Sophie's acceptance also raised conversations about what it means to be a modern monarch. The role has always had to evolve with changing times. In the past, royals who learned to read the spirit of their age while holding on to the core value of service became the most respected. Charles's decision felt like an attempt to follow that pattern, adapt the face of the monarchy to today's expectations without sacrificing the institution's purpose. Sophie, with her steady temperament and long-standing commitments, seemed to fit that aim. There are risks, of course. Any high-profile change will be scrutinized and debated. Some will prefer a bolder public voice. Others will worry that the monarchy is retreating to safe choices when it needs transformation. But the palace, for its part, framed the shift as pragmatic and purposeful. The king did not want someone who would simply imitate another's style. He wanted someone whose history of steady service aligned with the family's need for continuity and respect. Sophie's acceptance reflected that priority. not a bid for celebrity, but an embrace of responsibility. For the royal household, the move also provided breathing room to reassign duties thoughtfully. By placing Sophie in a more prominent working role, the family could better cover public engagements and ensure charities had consistent royal patronage. That kind of organizational clarity helps charities plan long-term projects rather than scramble for occasional attention. In the end, Sophie's role became less about replacing a single person and more about reinforcing the whole system that supports the family's public work. Public reaction over time suggested that many people welcomed the change. Some commentators praised Sophie's humility and steady focus. Others celebrated the symbolic rescue of the monarchy from years of turbulence. For ordinary members of the public who encountered Sophie during visits, the reaction was often warm. People appreciated that she listened, that she treated them with respect, and that she supported small but important causes. Those small moments of connection build public goodwill in a way that loud publicity rarely does. Sophie's story also reminded observers that public life is often a long journey, not an instant rise or fall. Her early mistake did not end her life, it transformed it. Over years, consistent choices rebuilt trust and carved a path towards meaningful service. That long arc, accountability, persistence, and dedication, resonated in a time when public figures can be consumed by scandal or swept into fame without grounding. Sophie's example offered a quieter, steadier narrative, one where actions, not headlines, shape a legacy. Inside Buckingham Palace, advisors who have watched these shifts closely noted that Sophie's steadying effect helped more than just public perception. She also became a trusted partner in organizing events, in guiding the family's charitable focus, and in representing the monarchy's quieter virtues. For a king intent on recalibrating the institution to meet modern demands, having a reliable, thoughtful partner at his side made his work easier in practical terms. As the dust settled, the move came to be seen as a small but meaningful rebalancing. Sophie was not stepping into a celebrity role, she was stepping into a wider seat of responsibility. The decision reflected a broader lesson. Institutions change best when they blend continuity with careful innovation. Sophie's presence offered a way to do that, to hold firm to the monarchy's commitment to service while responding to the need for a calmer public image. For Sophie herself, the role felt like a natural continuation of a life fitted more to purpose than to pageantry. She had chosen a path that led away from the heat of scandal and toward the steady work of helping others. Accepting the proposal was not a dramatic reinvention, it was a widening of the canvas she had already been painting on. That sense of continuity mattered to those who believed the monarchy should be about service, not spectacle. In the grand sweep of royal history, the episode would likely be remembered not for its shock value, but for what it signified. A king seeking to steady his crown by choosing someone who valued duty over drama, a duchess who turned private resilience into public compassion, and a family trying to find its balance in a noisy, modern world. Sophie's acceptance was a quiet but powerful example of how steady service can become the most effective form of leadership. The move also prompted a broader reflection outside the palace. People began to talk about what leadership means in any public life, not only titles and appearances, but the willingness to face errors, grow, and commit to long-term work. Sophie's journey from controversy to quiet authority offered a model many found useful. It suggested that sincerity, persistence, and practical help are as important as charisma in anyone who seeks to lead or represent others. King Charles's private proposal and Sophie's calm acceptance reshaped more than schedules. They altered the tone of how the royal family presented itself. In a world quick to reward spectacle, the palace chose steadiness. That choice offered a different path forward, one where the value of public life is measured by the impact of consistent work rather than by the size of the headlines it produces. As Sophie settled into her enhanced responsibilities, charities and communities took notice. Long-term projects gained a more reliable patron, and people who had previously felt overlooked by quick media cycles found someone who would listen. Sophie's style of leadership, quiet, consistent, focused on results, quietly began to produce measurable benefits. Her presence reminded many that the best kind of public service often happens away from the spotlight, in repeated small acts that add up over time. In the end, the story was less about replacement and more about renewal. King Charles made a thoughtful decision to place trust in steadiness and experience. Sophie accepted not to take someone's place, but to continue the service she had long practiced. Together, their actions suggested a monarchy, attempting to steady itself by emphasizing duty, compassion, and continuity. That subtle reshaping, though quiet in its announcement, sent clear ripples through the public imagination. Leadership rooted in calm, service built on years, and a royal role that chooses substance over spectacle.